Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Growth Monday. Very excited about today's show and excited about today's topic because we have someone in the house who has gone from shy, camera shy, to really just being someone who's a pro on camera. And so, those who are just not coming in, let us know where you're signing in from, what city, what state, what country. We'd love to know and hear from you. If you're watching this live or on the replay, we still want to hear from you. We are going to read all the comments. And the ones who are doing it live, we will read those comments during the show and answer as we can. So we want to welcome everyone to the Growth Monday show today. We're thrilled to have you with us. And for this episode, we're introducing a LinkedIn powerhouse, Miss Gehan Haridy-Ardanowski. And she goes by G. Okay, so we're going to call her G the rest of the show. And a quick snapshot of G. She's an ardent LinkedIn member for over 15 years. She's mastered its potential across diverse professional paths. If you read her profile, you'll see she's got a varied background, remarkable versatility across industries, especially within HR and recruitment. And many of her positions were clinched through sheer networking and the power of LinkedIn, actually. In the recent years, she's amplified her presence on LinkedIn, transitioning from being camera shy to becoming a video pro on LinkedIn. And she's the brilliant mind behind Golden Synergy Touch, LLC. G's expertise in aligning employee engagement and optimizing LinkedIn strategies is unmatched. Plus, for those of you who cherish melodies for music, who love music like I do, her love for Herb Alpert is sure to resonate with many of you watching the show. So prepare for an exhilarating discussion on camera shy to video pro LinkedIn success stories. Without further ado, let's welcome G to the show. Welcome, G.
Hi, it is so great to be here. Hello, everyone.
Good to have you. How did you feel after that great introduction about you?
Rollis, you are just so amazing. First of all, I don't even have words to describe how happy I am to be here, but just even hearing all of that, it just, sometimes you need to hear the good things about yourself to remind ourselves that, gosh, we can do good things in the world. And it felt really good just now. So thank you for the very, very glowing intro. And again, thrilled to be here.
Awesome. And guys who are watching, let us know why you're here today. What is it about this subject that made you want to come here? Is it because you're just starting out on your journey? Or maybe you've tried and maybe hit some bumps along the road. Maybe you haven't got started yet, just trying to get the courage to get started. Maybe some of you are pros already. We'd love to hear from all of you. We can share and connect with each other in the chat. So to get us started, G, one of the things that I just noticed from your content, I've kind of witnessed your journey. In fact, I know I've been in some workshops with you. We're all on this journey to try and expand our presence, trying to network more. So, how did you first of all make the decision that video was even something you wanted to do, like, or not necessarily wanted to do, but needed to do? What was it about video that drew your attention?
Oh my gosh. Well, onset of COVID, April 2020, I got laid off from my role at the time. And prior to that, I hadn't done video. I'd been on LinkedIn for many years, but hadn't really done a ton of the vivid content creation as we know it today. When it comes to video and graphics and the use of Canva, which I practically live in daily, as many of us do. And knowing that many of us had been laid off and were going through our own transitions around a really challenging time, I sought to find a way to stand out from the job seeking masses. How can you do that, especially being in HR and recruiting? And one of the things that I know that I had to get past was doing video. And so I did a first LinkedIn video as a result of some networking here in the DFW through the Who Ya Know show. And they put together a video for me once I did the footage, and sent it over and had the video edited. So once I got past that and did my very first LinkedIn video, quote unquote, this was probably around August of that same year, I decided to dabble a little bit more into doing a video series. So grew with that, slowly got my feet wet, slowly got going and cooking. And the more I did it, the more I found that I actually enjoyed it, especially the editing part too, just the creative aspect of it and learning captions and, getting other people engaged in that as well. Because a lot of people stumble through this video fear, and knowing that so many other people have the same fear is really what empowered me to say, we're all in it together type thing. So kind of how I
Love
got
that.
started.
Love that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Also, Lori is chiming in. She's saying, hi, Gehan and Rollis. Hi, Lori. Thanks
Very,
for
very,
joining us.
very good friend. Yay, Lori. Yes, from UMAP. Thank you, Lori.
Absolutely. So, Lori, tell us about your video journey. Are you doing video? Okay. Now, so G, I want to go back to this video part again. There are a lot of folks I talk to in the HR space, and part of the reason why I wanted to have you on the show is a lot of folks in HR, whether it's recruitment, whether if it's HR business partners, if it's HR leaders, there is a big hesitancy to be on video. I think a lot of them know that it's a good thing, but they don't necessarily think it's something for them. And so I'm curious, as an HR professional, an HR leader, from your perspective, what helps you to overcome that? I mean, what were some of the things that maybe you thought about that held you back from video? Maybe some of our fellow HR professionals may feel the same way. And how did you counteract that? Or what was your why to help you get past that?
Well, I think a big part, and please, chime in on this one, but I think part of it, and I was thinking about this earlier, people don't always know the rules. So even as HR and recruiting practitioners, somehow, in some ways, they may be hesitant because they don't know how that might be perceived by leadership. Some leadership buy in, hey, all in, woohoo, let's get our employees as employee advocates on LinkedIn, get everybody doing video, get everybody engaged. Others might be a little bit fearful. And I think because there's a lot of uncertainty around who's seeing what, who's sharing what. And as HR and recruitment, we are the people who are supposed to do the responsible thing and be responsible with that. But there's so many different layers to this. And especially as recruiters, it's a great way to be out and engage candidates. You know this, Rollis. Love your content. You're all about video, and I love that. And I've shared that with you many times.
Thank you.
Feedback on your posts. But one of the main things is just really getting past that and learning the rules, having those conversations with leadership first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a few folks coming in here. So we have Stephen. He says hello, G, and everyone. Hello back to you, Stephen.
Oh
Oh,
my goodness.
he said hello,
Hi.
Rollis. And then also Vicky. The Vicky's here. She says, "Hey, G and Rollis. Hello back to you, Vicky. Glad that you're here." And she's even noticing. I guess apparently she knows Lori as well, which is great. That's awesome.
He
And
does a lot of video too. So I don't know if you guys follow each other, but Vicky's big into video, and I did some. She actually did some coaching earlier this year in sessions and getting people up and running, especially with TikTok. So she's one of those people to follow, definitely,
oh, nice.
if you're
Is it
dabbling into
is it
video.
Gillian or Jillian? How would I say her name?
Jillian Whitney.
Jillian. Okay,
Jillian
very
Whitney in the
good.
house. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I can
Jillian
only
is
see so
apparently
many of the
here because
comments.
yeah, there
So
we go.
yay.
That's awesome. So
Jillian's my video coach, and she's video easy peasy. So she's
okay, good.
phenomenal, and she's written books on this topic. So yes,
So obviously that's something you recommend. So if someone is hesitant and wants to do it, would you recommend having a coach?
it worked for me. So in fact, through the power of LinkedIn, I ended up getting connected to Jillian Whitney 3 years ago, and when I shared with her my desire to embark on this video journey, but clueless on how to do it, about, okay, as a job seeker and as HR recruitment, but also as a job seeker at the time, wanted to dabble into creating a series for myself. And she was a phenomenal coach to get me through those steps. Didn't break
Awesome.
the bank, didn't, stress me out. She was just a gem. So one of the best people that can engage you as a video coach. And that helped. And then from there, again, just going through that process of learning how to caption your videos, doing the right things, and appealing to your audience, being creative, and most of all, enjoying it. I wanted to do it, whereas some people feel forced to do it. I really had the desire, and that's the biggest part of it, is knowing your why and your intention in the first place. So
Awesome. Love that. Love that.
yeah.
And that's something I've been kind of been delving into recently. In the past, I hadn't done much. I don't necessarily call myself a coach for someone on video, but for someone who already knows they want to get on video, they just want to know how to get on and how to make sure it looks good, things like that. That's kind of what we do. I know for clients, we've done it for years from an employer position, helping their folks get on camera because generally, candidates want to see. I think hopefully you'll agree with me on this. They want to see who their potential hiring manager would be. So I like to have their hiring manager perhaps be on camera. They also like to see some of the staff members that they may be working with, and then getting some good shots of the work environment. And so a lot of those people who we interview have never actually done an interview like this before. And so it's totally new to them. So we have to actually get them ready and comfortable within sometimes minutes. In other cases, maybe it's a week, but it's not a lot of lead in time, right? So because we've got all the equipment there, we have everything ready to go to make it look great, but of course they have to be willing to do it. So I don't know, just want to run that by you. Do you think those are things that are important in terms of when you're watching videos as a consumer? What are your thoughts on that?
I see it from both sides, Rollis. I agree 1,000%. And I can imagine that not everybody wants to get onto video. Going back to the whole intention of it, obviously, what you do, it's with intention, and you're prepping the people who are doing it. You're coaching them along the process. And yes, we'll call it coaching. You're walking them through it, making them feel comfortable. Even if there's only a few minutes to do it, it's still a matter of, do they want to do it? And if that's what they want to share with the masses, making sure that they look like they're having fun and feeling that they're having fun in the process. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm only guessing, and you can probably better tell me, that I would assume you're getting great results from that, because otherwise I can only imagine it would fall flat. And, as a candidate, I'd love to see that. And I don't really know of many companies that I've seen that in the initial process, although I worked for one employer that part of the pre-hire process, once the candidate signed on with us, that was when we did the welcome. Hey, welcome to the company. Send that individual personalized note from the team. We're excited to have you here. And there was one employer that we did that, and it was awesome. And that was met with really good results. That personalization to it. But as
Yeah.
a recruitment tool, it's imperative, I would say, especially
Yeah.
nowadays. Video is everything. It's everywhere. So
Awesome. Yeah, last year we verified about 16,000 applicants coming from the video. Did about 600 videos last year, 3.5 million views, and it generated just under 16,000 applicants of what we can track. There's probably more than that, but that's what we can track. Here's Steven comes across here. He says, "I've been a fan of video, and G knows all about it."
Stephen is amazing. He has a focus on library authors. He's phenomenal. So he does videos pretty regularly, actually. So he's another. I love the people that I'm seeing. I don't know if my view is different from yours, Rollis, but I'm seeing Vicky and Stephen, and they do video, and Jillian, of course, too. And Lori, I know, has been big with UMAP. So we've got a lot of great people in this audience today. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yes.
So and those who are in the audience, feel free and offer your best tips and tricks. What are your thoughts on this subject? And okay, yeah, Farah coming in too. Good to see you,
Hi,
Farah. Thanks
Sarah.
for being here. Okay, so I think you hit on a very important point earlier that I do want to make sure that we highlight, in that
Thanks.
the reason why some HR professionals or talent acquisition professionals are hesitant to do videos because they don't know what they should or shouldn't say in terms of the rules, and they want to be that model employee. They want to make sure they don't make a mistake. And so, what are some things that you would suggest to help them to feel more comfortable, or what fact finding processes they go through to make sure that they're doing the things that are okay in terms of, from a compliance or a rule standpoint?
Biggest thing, and this applies to all things, Rollis, and I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, but it's the leadership. It all starts from the top down. And getting leadership on board, being aligned with what that thought process is and what the end goal is. It's that start with the end in mind that always comes up with people. Know what you're trying to get from it before you get started. Otherwise, the initiatives fall flat every time. And I think it's just having that open communication. And I hate to keep using the word fun, but really making it an engaging experience. That's what employees are looking for, especially nowadays. They want to feel good in their roles. They want to be excited about their new opportunities. That's why this recruitment tool is important, to make sure that as recruiters, you're out there just amplifying the company brand and getting people energized to want to be a part of it.
Love it. Okay, now let's think about this from an individual standpoint. Individual people who are watching this, different walks of life, different backgrounds, but they want to be on video. I would like you to kind of fill in the blank here. If you want to accomplish X, you should be doing video. Give me an example. What is it? Give me some examples of maybe certain goals that they may have. What video is a great fit for that?
As basic as being visible, as basic as being visible. It can be anything. If you do a video, even if it's an intro video on LinkedIn, if you want to just put yourself out there, hey, I lost my job, for example, as a candidate or job seeker. Hey, I'm out there, I'm looking for a job. This is what I'm looking for. Hey, network, help me out here. So if you're looking to be seen, if you're looking to convey a message that's important to you, doesn't have to be 2 minutes in length. It can be 30 seconds, just something to kind of dip your toes into the water. And as I always say, when people are really fearful of it, start by hitting record on your phone. It is that simple. Practice and have fun with it. Enjoy it. That's the whole point, because if you don't, you're going to come across looking stiff. I see people doing this in videos and talking like this the entire time, or they look like this the entire time.
That was me.
Oh, well, and that's the thing. I had the deer in headlights look initially too. And I like to think that, and by the way, Rollis, I want to say thank you for that pro compliment. And again, going back to, I had a fabulous video coach the past 3 years. Jillian's phenomenal. She's become a very, very good friend. And this is the stuff that she preaches on, but really getting people camera comfy. And it didn't happen overnight. I don't think that people understand that in order to achieve that X that you'd mentioned earlier, it takes practice. And it takes a mindset and belief in yourself to be able to get onto camera, but understand the why behind it first and foremost.
Absolutely. Okay. So Vicky has her words of wisdom. She says, you can't go wrong by being yourself, show your personality, then inject HR and company brand components. Okay. Any parts of that you would like to comment further on, G?
Show up with authenticity. And I feel like these words get, overused, but it really is the truth. And like I was saying before, if you don't show up with that, people see through you. And to bring your best self, it's yourself to the table. The rest of it can fall into place. But again, that goes back to having those conversations, getting that team alignment. And it has to come from leadership. It really does. Ensure that if you want to be out on video, propose that to the leadership team, to your manager, to your executive. Just, dip a toe in and say, hey, I've got some thoughts, would love to do this to help amplify our company brand. And what do you think? Can we streamline this? And how does that feel? And see if people are on board with it. And be consistent with it. The last thing you want to do is start something that you can't sustain. It's like the company newsletter that falls flat all the time. I've worked so many companies to get that little newsletter out there, and then it just kind of goes to the wayside. But
right.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. I've heard that happen. It happens everywhere. But yeah, sustainability is everything. And I saw something, I think it was Stephen who sounded in with that trust, or that, get to know you. It's that know, like, and trust factor too.
Yes.
That is huge, humongous. And video is the best way to do it. The selfies are great, but video, it helps you tell your story a little bit more comprehensively, I feel, and just getting that audio and visual aspect to things. No matter what the message is, I think it's important.
And I have Steven's comment up there so we can see it. But I agree. Trust is definitely something you want to build more of, and video is an effective way to do it. I remember there reminds me of, I think it was Microsoft, but it was some large company that part of their hiring practice, they tried to incorporate. Oh no, it wasn't Microsoft. It was a study where they were studying teachers, how effective teachers would be, and they took the audio and the video of the teachers, and people were making assessments on how good they thought the teacher was just by watching a few seconds of video. And it was pretty accurate in terms of what they thought in terms of the effectiveness of the teacher. Then they took the audio out just had video only, and it didn't change much. The accuracy of how people viewed that particular teacher was pretty accurate. I have to go back and see the numbers, but just you saying that reminded me of that we gauge so much things off of video, not a still picture, but a video showing the person's mannerisms or facial expressions, and all. We're gathering information as we see that. We're gathering data about that person, and so I think that's a great point about building trust, showing your personality. And another thing I liked about what you mentioned is do it regular enough to the point where you do feel comfortable, because your personality, I've seen this many times, it doesn't come out on that first run because we're so self-conscious and nervous that the real Rollis doesn't come out. They're not going to see me laughing and and giggling or anything. They're not going to see any of that because I'm so nervous. I'm just watching, I'm frozen almost. So I love the point about just getting in there and hitting record. Okay, that's a great feedback. Okay, now here's another thing. Steven says, why I like video: to allow people to hear my voice and understand my message the way it's intended, the cadence, the inflections, knowing that we all process differently. So what are your thoughts on that? Give us your pro thoughts on Steven's comments, G. Oh, your voice cut out on me again here. There we go. Say it again.
Can you hear me?
There we go. You're back. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just going to sit still for a minute. No, no, I was going to say Stephen has a little bit of a unique message. Stephen's very special. And I started following his content because he drew visibility to authors and library books, and in an engaging way. But not only doing that, but he's been doing a ton of it through video. And you'd have to see it to believe it. But the feedback, even if you go through and see his videos in particular, a lot of people are intrigued and fascinated by something that some might say, maybe it's a little dry, it's about books, it's this, that, or the other, but he brings life to it through his audio and visual messaging. So you'd be amazed. I mean, and that can be the same with anything. He's one example of, I'm sure, many out there. But my whole thing is, when you have the opportunity to get in front of people and convey your message, and if we're going to touch on this, I'm not sure if we are, but the whole imposter syndrome thing.
Oh,
I mean,
yes,
back in the
please.
day, I mean, I still remember workshop imposter syndrome and talking through some of that a few years ago. But one of the things that helped me, if I can throw something out there really quick to the masses, is just realizing and keeping in mind that everybody starts somewhere. Everybody does. And people are here to celebrate you. They're not here to mock you. They're not here to, really ridicule you and make you feel less than, because everybody starts at the same point.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of understanding that we're all alike. I mean, we're all alike. We look different, we speak differently, but we're alike. And we all have the same feelings and emotions and have different intentions of why we want to get on camera. But at the end of the day, we all have an end goal, and we're supposed to celebrate each other. I mean, that's what life is, I say. So why not just hit record, experiment with it, and you can do anything.
So Vicky says all first videos are terrible. Don't compare your first video to someone else's 500th video. It takes time and practice. That's a good point. What do you think about that, G?
I would agree 1,000%. I mean, I look back the other day at my second video. So to clarify, I did a video. My first LinkedIn video was 3+ years ago. And I cannot tell you how many times I recorded myself. So it was meant to be about a 40-second message. And it was done at the time through Job Search Network, who great group of guys here in Dallas. Shout out to
Yes.
Trevor and Mark, Trevor, Mark, and of course, yes, and Foster Williams, of course, the job father. So through that group, everybody did these videos. Well, they were very gracious about putting the videos together for us, but we had to shoot the footage. And I will never forget, I spent half a morning recording over and over and over and over and over. And I just felt so uncomfortable. So when you see that first video, it comes across in 30 seconds of me sitting in front of a camera. But what people didn't see were the edits and the cuts that those guys made for me. So it took me a few months after that to do my second video, which I did myself. And at the time, I had this background. It looked a little bit different, but this was me sitting here like this, with a notepad here and a this there. And I thought, okay, this time I'm going to do it for real. And this is me. And I got a lot of good feedback from it because people knew I was struggling to get back on camera. That was me. The first one was me, but not really, if that makes sense. So it's a process. And after that, the videos started to become easier. To this day, though, and mind you, I've worked, with some companies who love getting their people on camera, other companies, not so much. I've worked with other people trying to encourage my friends and my colleagues. Everybody's story and reason is different. But to this very day, video is not my favorite media outlet. It's not my preferred communication or content,
Hmm.
if you will. I love writing. I can write all day long, and sometimes that's my problem. But video, I've gotten easier with it, but it's still a challenge. And I've done a ton of video. I've gotten jobs in part due to video and putting my message out there. But it's still, it's tough. So it never really goes away, but it becomes a lot easier over time. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. So we have a new one coming to the show. Do you know Gerling? Is it Gerson?
Lady G, Gerlin.
Gerlin. Welcome
Lady
to the
G.
show,
I
Gerlin.
call her I call her Lady G. Yes, she Clubhouse days. Clubhouse days. Yes, just met her live here in DFW for the first time recently. So I mean, I'll
Awesome.
tell you, this platform. Thank you, Lady G, for showing up. What a great group.
That's awesome. So other comments came in. Let's see here. So Steven says why he likes video. Um, let's see. Ooh, it went away. Yeah. And Vicky says perfectionism is like the number one reason why people start and stop or never start to begin with. What they don't know is perfection is the killer of progress. That is so true. Absolutely.
Very wise. And, if you go to her content, and I really do encourage people to go to her profile, she's phenomenal. I mean, literally basic bare bones. Pick up your phone, shoot your camera. Here's how to edit something very basic and CapCut, step by step by step. Start somewhere. That's really what her messaging is.
There you go. Excellent. Okay, so Steven says he likes people to hear his voice, understand his message, and he goes on to say to Vicky, back to Vicky, the terrible first videos teach us so much about what we can do better moving forward. Oh yeah, I agree with that. Take them as experiments. That's a good point. I will say this: a lot of HR professionals who are trying to dip their toes in the water, they have a lot riding on this when it from the corporate standpoint. So they want to make sure the first videos look really good. And so some of them aren't willing necessarily to just like do an experiment and it not look great. They want it to look great the first time. So there is some hesitancy there. I don't know if you want to give some thoughts on that, what your perspective is on that. Should they approach management about that? Or should they just make sure that that first time is really, really top notch? What are your thoughts on that, G? Oh,
Honestly,
we lost you again. Say,
can you hear me?
now you're back. Go for it.
So, I get it. I understand. And I've seen some managers and leaders get on video and it's not their thing. And maybe that's just not their thing. But that doesn't have to be the case for everybody representing, the company, if you will. So I would have to say that above all else, it's first of all having that communication, making sure that leadership understands what the messaging is going to be, first and foremost, above all else. What is that communication? And then running the video past everybody and saying, hey, is this presentable? Is this what we want our brand to look like? Does this align with the messaging? And for whatever the reason is it to attract candidates? Is it to promote an event? Is it, making sure that the communication is held across all levels? Because if that isn't and it falls flat, then yes, it does fall on that person. I would think, the person who goes rogue, which I can honestly say I don't think I've ever gone rogue. I don't think I've worked anywhere in recent years where I've done a big misstep. In fact, quite the opposite. If anything, you kind of hold off on doing X because you're nervous about maybe this person won't approve or what have you. But it's important to have those conversations.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
here's my thing too: if for an HR professional or recruiter, whatever that position is that you're in, if you're even feeling uncomfortable about having those conversations, and you probably know where I'm going with this, but that's probably a different topic altogether. The open communication should be there. And I would hope it would be, especially if you're going to showcase company brand and get people energized to want to be a part of it. So
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, so Vicky has a very complimentary thing to say. She says, "Thanks for the kind words and shout out to you, Lady G." No, you're not Lady G. The other one. You're G. You're just G. The other person.
I'm G. I'm G.
Okay.
Because nobody can pronounce my name. So yeah, it's funny.
Okay, so now it's time. We're at the halfway mark. We want to make sure we stay hydrated. This is our water break. And I have a fun question for you and those in the audience. I have a fun question for you guys. And we want you to participate, okay? Whether you're watching live or on the replay. My question is, would you rather be fluent in 3 languages or be able to talk to animals? So I like to hear your answer, G, but I also want to hear those who are in the comments. What are your thoughts? So we're talking about communication, we're talking about video, but when it comes to languages, if you had your choice, would you rather be able to speak 3 languages or be able to talk to animals?
Language.
Uh-oh. Your voice it
Again?
popped out again. There we
Okay.
go.
Can you
There
hear
you
me?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Sorry about that. Languages, hands down, bar none. Love cats and dogs and animals in general, but languages. In fact, French, Arabic, would love Portuguese, Italian, all of these different languages. I'd love to learn a little bit of at some point. I speak some French just from childhood, high school, college type thing, but yes, I'd love that.
Yes, yes. Je
Do you
parle
speak?
un peu le français aussi.
I was just going to say, do you speak fluently any?
Un peu. No.
Un peu.
Yeah.
Moi aussi. Moi
I don't know
aussi.
very much. I know very little. But yeah, I'm the same way. I think I would like those. I like those languages you picked too. French and Arabic would be very interesting to learn. You said, did you say what was the third one you said?
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Oh my
Obrigado.
gosh.
That's all I know.
That was
Obrigado.
my language that I started to dabble into actually a couple of years ago, but I was discouraged a long time ago from learning it. A long story short, but yes, Portuguese, Italian, Greek.
Oh
They
yes.
fascinate me. Yes, on
Beautiful.
the bucket list, I'd love to do a lot of world traveling if possible. So
Vicky says she's going to talk to animals. That's her choice.
Vicky. And Vicky would film herself doing it, and I would love to see that.
There was the last HR conference I went to. No, the second to last. Yeah. So it was ASHRA, the American Society of Healthcare HR Association. They had a little section of it where they had dogs there you could kind of play with, the little puppies. And it was a big hit at that conference. People always come in there. So imagine being able to talk to those little puppies. That would be nice. I'm going to go with languages, though. I'm thinking I'm with you on this.
Yeah.
Steven says, if it came down to these 2 choices, I'd rather be fluent in 3 languages. Okay, so Steven, tell us which 3 languages would you choose? And Vicky says, I would. What is she saying I would do?
Probably about the video when I meant maybe the video.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, exactly.
I could see Vicky doing it. No, again, everybody in the audience is phenomenal. But yeah, I could see Vicky honestly doing her TikTok videos and doing that. No, she's great.
Yeah. So she does TikTok as well?
Yes.
Okay. I've seen your TikToks. I haven't seen Vicky, so I have to try and find her.
Yes.
And you said Jillian as well, right? She does TikTok as well?
Jillian, not on TikTok, but
Okay.
Jillian does video easy peasy. Jillian actually has a weekly live on Tuesdays. I think noon our time, if memory serves. So yeah, she's phenomenal with her guests.
Awesome.
Has all kinds of guests, so check it out.
Well, I want to give a shout out since we're talking about these other platforms. I want to give a shout out to Sri Hamahabir. She does a great job with that as well. She's helps people help build confidence for folks to get on video, and she does an Instagram show and she does TikTok as well. So those of you who are on any of those other platforms, let us know what it is. Put it in the comments so we can follow you on those platforms if you don't mind. Just put it in your comment what your TikTok or your Instagram or whatever channel you want to promote. Put that on here. I'd love to hear it. Love to see it so we can check out your videos. Okay. So this is another question I wanted to ask you. I want if you could kind of break down your process or your steps, like the last couple of videos I've seen and watched. What was your process for those? Did you write up a script? Did you just have an outline in your head? I'm going to do this. Did you do multiple takes? I would love you to just kind of describe your process from your perspective. And then I could, of course, maybe kind of talk a little about what we do, but I want to hear more about what you do in terms of your process to make a video.
So my process, of course, is different from yours because of, given obviously what you do with your videos. From a professional standpoint, I'm more casual right now versus corporate advocacy. But for my videos, just picking up that phone, having a thought in my head, and sometimes it just comes to me impromptu. I'll give a great example. My most recent video that I just did yesterday, I had our show today, my show here with you, on the brain. And I thought, because a lot of times with being a guest on some of these lives, the experience can vary. And I've shared this before, and I've given you a ton of feedback, maybe overkill, but Rollis, you're phenomenal. The show's phenomenal. You've always got great guests. You know, you gave Shri a shout out. Shri Mahavir, phenomenal as well with video. So, hey, Shri. But you have this way about your show, professional, and not everybody, not all hosts do it that way. Just some of the stories you hear and such, but I also hear the horror stories too about guests coming on. And so yesterday, what prompted me, it was literally just something that popped into my head. I thought, I need to do a video on this. So let me give 3 quick tips on how to be a decent guest and the ways that you can prepare yourself. So jotted down a couple of notes, literally picked up my camera phone and just started shooting early morning. And I did a couple of takes, dumped it into CapCut, and started editing. CapCut makes it very easy. There's a ton of tools out there. CapCut's free. Vicki, I know, can speak to that because I did video coaching with Vicki O'Neill. So yes, CapCut's phenomenal. Didn't take long. You do your captions because you want to make these videos accessible to all. And even though LinkedIn, by the way, you can throw something in here if you want, Rollis, but the LinkedIn captions sometimes don't capture everything accurately. So I do my own captions. Just that's me, and then post it. So it takes a minute, and yes, the first few videos take a while. But to your point earlier, the more frequent you do them, and when you establish a pattern, when you have your template, when you keep going back and revisiting, it makes it a lot easier and less time consuming and more fun. And people start to know you for your videos. And then they'll ask you, hey, I haven't seen you on a video in a while. So what's up with that?
Right, right. Those are all great points. I like CapCut too. It's gotten better and better. I have the CapCut Pro, so I can do a few extra little things in there. Then that's incidentally, I guess TikTok saw the power of CapCut because I think they bought it. They purchased CapCut. So if you do a video, it's very easy for you to upload it right to the TikTok platform. Obviously, they're going to make that easy. But you can use CapCut on anything. You can use CapCut on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of them. But I thought that was kind of smart. First of all, TikTok, they made their editor extremely good inside TikTok. It was one of the best. In fact, it was the best for a while. And then now I think CapCut's probably a little bit better. So they end up buying that. And so I like the CapCut. For most of our professional work, we use all Adobe Premiere Pro for our editing application. And then a lot of the fancy graphics and stuff we'll use After Effects. But I think most people who are probably watching this don't need that. They could probably just do the CapCut and it works great. We're obviously doing a lot of corporate work, and so there's a certain level of professionalism we have to have for that, and so we generally have to use those programs. But I think most people who are watching this would do just fine with CapCut, even the free version. Some of the pro features I don't necessarily even use. I end up sometimes using some of the free part. So I think that's great. I love the fact what you mentioned, how you had an outline of what you were going to say, and you had 3 basic points you wanted to get out in that video. And so even if someone's not doing a script, they at least have an outline of what they're going to say ahead of time. I think it's extremely helpful. Guys in the comments, let us know what you think. Do you think it should be from a script? Do you think it should be from maybe a few notes or just an idea of what you're going to say? Does it matter just the person's personality? I know my personality. I tend to like to just have just a few little notes, and then I can gab through the rest of it. Oh, you're clicking out again. Your microphone's not.
I didn't. Can you hear me?
Not yet.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
It's coming. Say it again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back. There we go.
Okay, I don't know why it keeps doing that. I am so sorry.
It's just noise canceling. I think it's probably just.
All I was going to say is that with CapCut, what's interesting is there's a teleprompter that you can use too. I believe it's CapCut. I think it's CapCut. Vicki O'Neill, if you're still there, please clarify this because I learned this from her. But there's a teleprompter feature that you can use, and for people who need that script, it makes it easy. And I want to say that it's CapCut that uses that teleprompter feature, which is really great. I haven't really used much of that. Usually, I just, as you were saying earlier, use those 3 points. But the other piece of it too, though, is it doesn't have to be 2 minutes in length. It doesn't have to be very long. 30 seconds is enough, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And going back to also earlier what you were saying a little bit, you mentioned the pro piece and this pro and these pro features, that pro feature. And to touch on this, and I'm sure that this is an entirely separate show anyway, but equipment in general, that's another misconception that people have, is that you have to have this top-notch equipment to even get started. And you really don't. I think the biggest thing is just be in decent lighting, halfway decent lighting, so people can see your face, that you're not obscure, have decent audio on your phone. It should be sufficient, but you don't need much else to get started. And so people will waste time and energy and money going out and spending a ton of money. I'm guilty. I experimented with different microphones and lighting and such, and I'm still three plus years into it. I'm still messing around at times, but overall, you don't have to have perfection. Progress over perfection any day, all day long.
Absolutely. Gerlene Lady G, she says she's just starting to play around CapCut. Great suggestion.
Awesome.
Vicki, I don't know if you saw this note. She says she thinks that just having an idea of what you're going to say in a script is too limiting. So she's kind of like us on that. And yes, it does have a teleprompter. I'm going to suggest if you're using a teleprompter, use it in a way that doesn't seem like you're using a teleprompter. So maybe if you could practice a little bit, if you're going to use that, so that it doesn't sound like you're reading. Because we've had situations where we've interviewed someone who was very nervous about being on camera, and so they had notes written out, and so we didn't have the teleprompter, but we did put the notes right in front of the camera where she could see them, and we could tell 100% when she was reading versus when she was just speaking, from her own extemporaneously, just from her own natural. And it was more interesting when she spoke naturally than when she was reading. It was incredibly not engaging when she was reading. When she wasn't reading, it sounded really, really good. So if you are going to read, make sure you're reading in a way that sounds like you're not reading. Yeah, I mean, can we imagine watching a movie and they're interacting with each other? It looks like they're reading the script. That would be horrible. So we don't want to do that.
People who early on, just the nerves and understood 100% why, but with teleprompters and the reading, sometimes it does. It takes away a little bit, but also too, in all fairness, it's just, again, progress over perfection.
Yes.
Learn over time what works for you. And that's okay to start off that way, especially when you're afraid to be on camera. But going back to what I keep saying about the intention piece, why are you on camera in the first place? If you don't want to be there, find a way to not be there if you can help it, unless something is literally just kicking you and nudging you in that direction forcibly for some reason or other. But yeah.
I always get a kick out of, I don't know if you're watching any Will Ferrell movies, but there's a movie called Anchorman that he made. He made 2 Anchormans actually.
Oh yeah.
And the first one was the one where he was so stuck on what was on that teleprompter, someone put something in there they weren't supposed to, and it really messed him up. Okay.
I've never seen it. I'm gonna have to see it. People keep saying I need to see that movie, so yeah, I'll have to go back and check that out.
Vicky says, okay, yeah. Well, if you like slapstick comedy, kind of silly comedy, then it's pretty funny, obviously. Vicky says, great point, Rollis. If you're going to use a teleprompter, practice, incorporate voice inflections, and show your personality. So thank you for that confirmation, as well as the fact she says progress over perfection. That's definitely something that's going to stick with me. Appreciate that, G. Okay, so I have another fun question for you. You ready?
Go for it.
Guys in the comments, I do want you guys to answer this as well. Okay, so would you rather, just tell me inherently just your personality, would you rather take a risk or play it safe? Guys in the comments, I want you to answer, but G, I want you to answer.
Take a risk.
Take a risk.
A reasonable risk.
Okay, define reasonable.
So long as it doesn't harm other people or harm himself. But yeah, I would take a risk in a heartbeat. I mean, even getting onto camera with video is a risk. Why not? I mean, what have you got to lose?
That's true. That's true. Okay, and so Vicky's seen it. She says Anchorman was hilarious. The teleprompter scene was so funny. And she
I've got
says
to
she'll
go
take
through
a
it.
risk.
Yeah.
She's a risk taker.
Vicky would. Yeah, Vicky's awesome.
I believe in taking risks as
Cool.
well too.
Educated. Yep. Educated risk. Yep.
Educated risk, yes. And I like to use
Weighing
the
the
term
pros and cons.
calculated risk, right? As an entrepreneur, I've taken lots of a series of calculated risks. So we're risking things all the time because as an entrepreneur, you don't know where your next check is coming from until you go get it, right? And so there are a series of calculated risks a person will take as an entrepreneur, but even really as a job these days. When you're taking a job, you're taking a risk on whoever you decide to be employed by, who's going to write their name on your check, because that person who you accept the job from may not necessarily be the best employer for you, and you may have to. I know I've read your content, G. You've experienced that firsthand. So it's a calculated risk even taking a job, right? Oh, see, I lost your voice again.
Oh, geez, maybe I need to not laugh
Oh,
anymore.
there you
Can
go.
hear
Whenever
me?
you're about to talk, whenever you do that, I think it fixes it. Okay, go for it now.
Maybe I'll just have to hold it. Can you hear me like this?
Yeah, well, do it how you had it before just now. You had
Like
it with
that?
the other. You had it slightly different just now.
Okay.
Now talk.
Okay. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. See, Rollis, this goes back to what I was sharing yesterday about being prepared with audio and tech. And hey, things happen, but what can we do? We can laugh through it. And
You're doing
hopefully you can hear
fantastic.
me.
Don't worry about it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Wonderful. No, going back to you can go through and you're a recruiter, you know this. You can talk to candidates all day long and coach them into the best position possible. And unfortunately, things happen. Things can happen. I had a job once that lasted 5 weeks. After all, this was 20 years ago. Sorry, yes, I'm old. But and hey, they threw all the bells and whistles at me and lasted 5 weeks. It wasn't my fault. It was that they just decided they didn't need the function. Then I've had temp roles that last longer than permanent roles. So I mean, I could go on forever about my work history and my philosophies, if you will. But the point is, you won't know unless you try, and you can only do the best you can with the information that you have in all things. So going back to your original question of take the risk or play it safe. I mean, what are you going to do? Stay stagnant? I vote risk. That educated or calculated risk, if you will. Thank you, Stephen.
And thank you, Lori. Lori said she has to run. She enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, Lori. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
And I like Stephen's point about weighing the pros and cons. That kind of sometimes it helps us to get out of our comfort zone to weigh out the pros and the cons, because if the pros are outweighing the cons, we know the cons are there, but if they're outweighed by the pros, then it may help us to go ahead and do it. So I love that approach. So thank you for adding that, Stephen. Okay. So the other question I wanted to ask you is, you said earlier you've kind of fallen in love, or you kind of like editing more than what you thought. So describe that process to those who are new to video and are watching this. Yes, part of it is hitting the record button, but then after you hit the record button, now we're moving into the editing and the posting part. So tell me, what is it that you learn about that process and what you like about it? I lost you again.
Okay, now can you
There
hear
we
me?
go. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to hold it like this. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Do that.
I'll just do this for right now. So, and if Vicky's still there, hopefully she can help me attest to some of this. But it's one of the things that I didn't understand. For example, were the jump cuts, and basically that catchy, cool, slick transition, so that it doesn't look like 1 minute of monotonous just staring at the camera. It's taking some of that music, infusing that energy, the cool captions, the little graphics and the emojis. And a lot of that is just delivering the message with personality, because you can hit record and you can post something, and that is more than fine. But of course, if you can splash some of who you are in your own way into it, that's the part that I really enjoy about it too. So the getting onto camera, it's, I've gotten a lot better. and more receptive to it, if you will, over time. I mean, even 3 years ago when I did my first live, I didn't know, oh gosh, I could go back and probably find the footage, but just going back and looking, where was I looking and what was I doing? And I was masked at the time, I think, for a moment. And, just doing whatever we were doing at the onset of, or I should say at that point in the midst of COVID. But, it's having fun with the video process, whatever position you're in. And going back to the whole HR and recruitment piece, the challenge, like I said, it's knowing your boundaries, knowing what's acceptable and what's not. But that's communication. That's with anything with your leaders. And I can think of a couple of people who, have been in leadership roles and they went to their leaders to get buy-in for video. And, leadership says, absolutely, go for it. And, help our company, help amplify our company brand and get excited and give that energy to the masses. I say, why not? Versus everybody going in and just being, I don't want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? Just stagnant and not excited. You want to energize your workforce. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also say, by the way, Vicky says, yes, I'm still here. Thank you,
yay,
Vicky.
Vicky. Thank you.
One of the things I think is good is that the more, even while you're working with a company, the more visible you are on video. If for some reason something happens to that job, because things happen, right, with jobs, something happens to that job, you've already put yourself out there where it's going to be much easier than trying to start from ground zero or just from nothing to all of a sudden creating content. But if you've been building this over time, man, it's so much easier. What are your thoughts on that? Just my opinion, but what are your thoughts on that?
101. Absolutely. It's maintaining your visibility, and it goes back to LinkedIn, how a lot of people, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Rollis, you probably see this with your candidates, they're not on LinkedIn, for example. When they get a job, they jump off LinkedIn and then they disappear for 2 years. And then they say, okay, I need to get a job. I need to quote unquote get back on LinkedIn. Well, you should never be so far from the platform in the first place. Video content is a portion of the creative, anything that you can do on here. There's so many different things. Even just being here today and engaging in comments is huge. Being visible, having people know who you are, putting your name out there. It's so important nowadays. We're now at 985 million people, give or take, on this platform. Video is really where it's at. I think at this point, there's about 5% of content creators, and only a fraction of those are using video. I wish I had the exact number offhand, but you get the idea. There's a lot of room here. And in order to really stand out, it's, if there's any way possible to do video, even if you want to try to dabble into it, just try. You may attempt it and it may not be your jam, and that is more than fair. But at least give it a try.
Absolutely. And I'll just put something out here too. Now that we're discussing, I thought your point was great about this, the small percentage of people who actually put content on LinkedIn versus who consume it.
Yeah.
Whereas roughly 50% of the people who at one time, I think it's a year old stat, but 50% of the people who downloaded the TikTok app have uploaded at least one video, which is crazy phenomenally high. So that means somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 to 500 million people have uploaded videos there, whereas only about 1 to 5%, like you mentioned, have actually uploaded video content on, or just any kind of content on LinkedIn. So if you're a little skittish about doing it, maybe try another platform. Maybe put it on TikTok for a little while, and once you feel comfortable, take one of those videos, put on LinkedIn. There's definitely, I think, a lot of value in putting yourself out on LinkedIn as from a video perspective for the networking purposes, because I want to say the stats that I read was something like 50% of the folks who are on LinkedIn are high income earners in the U.S. There's about 200 million users in the U.S. And so to be able to get in front of those high income earners, which are likely going to be those who would be employing you, it's like your best platform. Vicky says, okay, she says, have a plan, especially when working with teams. Thank you. I appreciate that. She says it's good to have a plan on that. And she also says it's the social network for professionals. No one should only be here when they're looking for a job. Video content, other formats, and commenting can go a long way. Those are all great points. While she's got more, you can never go
Vicky's on
wrong with
fire.
YouTube. There's a ton of value, and you don't have to play algorithm games. Haha. Good point. Good point. Now, what's your thought? I'm curious. What's your thoughts on YouTube?
That
She
is,
mentioned YouTube. I want to get your thoughts on it.
I don't do YouTube. I
Yeah.
other than to view. So I subscribe to people's channels. I think it's phenomenal. And a lot of people are doing amazing things and building up subscribers and viewers, and I think it's amazing. I personally haven't done it just because it's one more platform to look at. I mean, people are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, um, TikTok, LinkedIn. It's another platform. So for me, YouTube hasn't been something of a priority when it comes to the job search. Now, going forward, as I venture along my solopreneur journey, if you will, at some point, yes, I'll probably end up building and establishing a YouTube channel, just because that's the thing to do. But I'm not on the other platforms. Should I be? Possibly? But then, comes the argument from some people who say, stick with a couple and stay in that lane or stay in those lanes, and then, um, you know, don't worry about the rest of them. But then you've got the other people who say you need to be across everything, because the thing is, with any platform, you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket, so to speak, because
Hmm.
LinkedIn is, as is often said, LinkedIn, where this is it's borrowed real estate.
Yeah,
It is.
it's
It's
true.
nothing's permanent. So it's important to establish ourselves well enough here to where it can translate across other platforms. And I see you're smiling and nodding, so you agree.
I do. I do agree. So, okay, I want to ask you and the rest of the folks who are watching, if you had to start all over again, okay, you've never been on any social media, which one would you start with and why? And I'm going to give mine, but I want you to give me yours first, G. And those are in the comments, Vicky and Steven and all the others. And those who are watching the replay, I want to know, if you were to start all over again, which one would you start with and why? So, what's yours, G?
Okay. Well, funny story. First of all, I'll say LinkedIn, but here's the why behind it. So my current account was started in April of 2008. So I'm in the first 3% of users. But what people don't know is that my original LinkedIn account was started in 2004. And so, yes, 2004, I believe. And what happened there, so I would have, in theory, been, I want to say, around the first 1 or 2% of users had I gone back and really optimized and utilized that space in that time frame. I didn't, unfortunately. And, I could have grown earlier. I think I could have
Mm,
established myself even earlier and continued to do that. Now, Facebook, I actually am no longer on Facebook, so you won't find me there, folks. I'm primarily on LinkedIn, so look me up, and if you connect, please personalize your invite. Always do that with invites, but LinkedIn's my primary platform. I'm not big on Instagram. I need to do better with Instagram. I do have a landing page there. I don't use it. TikTok, I'm on. I just did a TikTok video yesterday, but I rarely do TikTok. I'm terrible. Vicky will attest. Vicky, my
I've seen
TikTok
your
video
TikTok.
coach.
You did great.
So I need to do better with that. But yeah, it's tough. What does everybody else say? LinkedIn PS. I've had my account since 2011.
Okay,
That's
so Steven says, he says, if I start over with social networks, he says he would go LinkedIn. He's had his account since 2011. I think I got my account in 2008 or nine. I can't remember. 2008 or 2009.
yeah.
Okay, Vicky says, great question. I start with YouTube, TikTok, and LinkedIn. These seem like three that give the most value from a search perspective, and LinkedIn for business. Now, she listed YouTube first. So I'm going to hold you to YouTube since I asked which one would you start with. So I'm assuming she says YouTube, you're LinkedIn, Steven says LinkedIn. I'm going to say for me, if I had to start knowing what I know now, starting it all, because this would have been back in 2004, starting it all over, I would definitely do YouTube. Now, YouTube didn't start till 2006, but I would definitely do YouTube. The reason why I didn't do YouTube for so many years is because of imposter syndrome. I was scared. I felt like the folks who I saw on YouTube were so much better than me in terms of their content. Why would I post something? It can't be better than that. So that just kind of, so let me just start with LinkedIn. So let me start with LinkedIn. So that's where I started doing more content on LinkedIn. I did a little bit on Facebook, but I would say, if even if it was a couple of years ago, like when I started doing my live show, and I'm about to release something now. I'm going to tell everybody who's watching, this is my announcement going forward. I'm actually going to move my my live shows to YouTube first, and I'm going to use LinkedIn for short form content in 2024. I went to the vids. Yeah, I went to the Vid Summit conference they had this year. It was a 10th annual conference, and it's some of the biggest YouTube creators on the planet. It's interesting. A lot of those guys don't know much about LinkedIn. You talk to a lot of these YouTube guys, they don't really know much about LinkedIn. They're like, I don't use that platform. I don't really know about it. It's very interesting. But the amount of reach that we can have if we decide to do LinkedIn, I'm sorry, YouTube, is phenomenal. Like, I'm happy if I get 10,000 views on a video here on LinkedIn. I'm like ecstatic, right? Whereas that's like the low end on YouTube. You can get like, hundreds of thousands, millions of views on a video. There's people who I follow all the time. They have like 100,000 subscribers and they have close to a million views per video. So it's just like it's a much bigger pond. It's a harder to get going, but I would definitely suggest to do that because I've noticed that the person LinkedIn, the average user only uses LinkedIn for 17 minutes a month.
That
So
I
if
didn't know.
yeah. So if you're doing, let's say you're doing like this right here, this hour show, most people are not on LinkedIn long enough to consume this show. Whereas
Right.
on YouTube, they're on it at least an hour and a half a day.
Which
So
makes
that's
sense.
why I got on a rant. Sorry about that, but that's my thing. I wanted to share with you, G. You got me so comfortable. I wanted to share that with you. You're the first person I've shared
Excited.
it with.
I
I wanted.
cannot wait. I'm excited for you for 2024, and it is right around the corner, my friend. So thank you for sharing that with us today. That's fantastic. That is fantastic news.
Look. She says G is awesome on TikTok. She's great on video in general. You rock. I agree. That's why you're on the show right now because
Oh,
I follow your content and I think
thank
it's
you.
very good.
I'm touched and honored to be here. Really, thank you. And oh my gosh, we're over, aren't we? Oh
Oh
my
my
god.
God, see there, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being on and commenting. G, I want to thank you for your time today.
Thank
And so you
you.
got me talking. I'm usually good about the time, and see, it just flies when you're a G.
Well, and there's so much more. And thank you for all the great names that you gave shouts to today, and Shree who couldn't be here. But I mean, my gosh, Garlin and Vicky, everybody, Lori, thank you all friends. Thank you for being here today. Whoever's seeing this afterwards too, appreciate it.
Thank you. Let's say bye to everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And guys, make sure you're following. Make sure you're following G. Okay, and all the guys who are on here, comment and tag each other in the comments and connect with each other. All right, so Joanne's gonna close us out. But how was it for you today, G?
Fantastic. Rollis, your gem. Thank you again.
You're awesome. Thank you, guys.